Hello, hello, hi. It is me, it is I. Small town Didi, or how do you use your internet? I am back. Hello, yella. We're sort of kind of following up with that because right before this conversation, there was a conversation around. I've said this to you guys that I can't remember which video where I was like, people from two-parent households act like they shit don't stink. Like, a two-parent household girly here. You guys, I'm one of those people where it's probably shocking to some people as to how I end up like this because for all intents and purposes, my parents is such a marriage. Like not but like a very I did not grow up in chaos. Like I did not. And it takes being on this side of being grown to realize actually what a calm home I had. Like just calm, my mom and dad being nice to each other, blah blah blah. But it takes also being a grown woman to realize that a lot of laboring was done on my mom's part to make this what it is. And I think there's this thing of looking at your parents through rose colored glasses where I did myself this favor a while ago, and I think you should do it. If you have anger toward a parent, but not an absent one, you can stay mad at that bitch. But like we had this conversation, but let's have it again. Just make them people. And I think maybe for some of you, it comes when you have children of your own. You realize that you're just a girl. I'm just a girl. You're just a girl. You're just a boy. And you made people. And these are by the tools that you have. And you're doing your absolute best and you're going to make mistakes. When you humanize your parents like that, you see them as a boy and a girl who got together and they did their absolute best. And at parts, it felt like they're not doing enough or whatever, but it takes, see, time is such a gift. I've said that to my best friend that the best gift I ever got was time, so I can heal my perspective of my relationship with my dad, because it wasn't my relationship with my dad, it was my lens. He always had a good relationship with me. I didn't always have a good relationship with him, which is crazy business. I can't get into it, but I will someday. But as a parent, a child who comes from that situation, you would think I would be so into this institution because for me, it actually produced a healthy result in that I had a healthy home with two parents in it, right? But I also did look around and I saw when it wasn't working. And I've never been this blindly like, no, it's just the best thing that can happen. There was also like this viral thing that happened where children were talking about how they celebrated when their parents got a divorce, because it was the best thing ever, which is why it's very weird for me when people want to just push this institution on people like it's the best thing that's ever happened and nothing can possibly go wrong. And it's so bizarre because there's so many children in these institutions who feel like this is not working. This is not, and it does more harm than good. But the conversation that was being had, and if I can find the stage of Mate talking about this, I am going to put it here, and she's right.
Yes, but Ulihle spent a good plus minus 2 weeks responding directly, like one by one. Elanda abantwana bomtshato that was so adamant into thinking that abantu banomona ngabo because bona basebenzisa ifani neziduko zotata babo. And I saw all of this trend, man. At first I thought it was a joke. Then I realized that, oh my gosh, it's definitely not a joke. And I understood where it's coming from because one, they are also raised by these submissive provider mothers that were deluded and also deluded them into thinking that you guys are more special than the other kids because you're head in wedlock. And as we're cooler, one way or the other, bayabona ba abazali babo batshata namakhembence. In fact, amama babo batshata amakhembence, amadoda that don't even have emotional intelligence. Because tell me why une-daddy issues kodwa indoda ekuzele ikhule ibilapha endlini. Une-daddy issues, but indoda le kuzalayo ibilapha endlini ukhule apha phambi kwayo. Yet every day you come here on social media usike irrelevance, usike i-approval yamadoda because anguyifumana endlini because leli khembence likhethwe ngumamakho alina emotional intelligence. to wield you through i-acceptance yomntu ongutata ngokuzoyifuna apha. And it goes for both genders, because if it's not that, then leya igender ihamba ishwabanisana nebotyo phambi kwezikhawashi, phambi koobhuti abaqhuba iMercedes Benz, because kaloku umbona as a grootman. Yo, grootman yam, hey, yo. All of that, dead issues. And another indication of dead issues, especially emadodeni, even though they actually claim babakhule nodata babo bona, kukuqaphela slay queens. They hate them because le attention bayifuna kangaka grootman is easily garnered by them, and they can't get them, and they want to be them. Everyone goes two ways. Andifuna ithetha ke sefuna uyibamba finances, because ukusiqhayisela ngokuplanwa kwakho ngelo xesha kulo nyaka kufuneka usikarele imali ye-driving lessons kupha ukuplanwa. Coming from a two-parent household, kunzima uba ngabankazi athi bafumana bayi-20,000 bayokuthengela ii-tears while we buy cars ufuneka iqala ikhatywe before ivulwa amacango. Planned? Akho kumnandi aplan usho. Iphinde indixakekelele conversation ngazijika iphinde ithi kusafuneka ndivuse ikhaya. Kanti uplanwe phi? Liba ikhaya uplanwa kulo. Esimama kwa special. Awukho special. And I know omama benu like had to delude you because you had to feel some sort of way. And the reality is, a lot of you probably know this by now, if your mothers had a bit of higher self-esteem, some of you wouldn't exist. Some of you wouldn't exist.
You guys, I'm one of the ones who has made, like, I'm one of the planned people who's still living at home. Luckily, I've never thought I'm special. But it's fine. Maybe at some point I probably did. And now it's just so far behind me into the past over there that I don't recall. But I was planned. Never mind wanted, because sometimes they don't plan on having you, but they get pregnant and they keep you because you're wanted, right? And that's really the gist of the conversation. A lot of you talk around this, and a lot of it to me, a lot of these conversations that I saw, a lot of the stage, there was one girl who was like, I don't live with my mother in my grandmother's house. I think that is the main one where I was like, yo, can life not humble her? Because I don't think she'll get up. I don't think she has the tools to get up. When you put all of your identity in things that you weren't in charge of, you are prone to shaming other people about their existence and how they show up from things that they weren't in charge of. You weren't in charge of whether or not you will be conceived by people who got married. You weren't in charge of whether or not you were going to be conceived by people who had done well in life and they were going to have their own homes and be able to leave their parents' homes. You were never in charge of that. It's a lottery thing, and you want that if it's an issue of winning and another person doesn't. But if you are valuing yourself from that point of view, you are prone to shaming the next person from that point of view. Nothing is dangerous. I'm not better than the next person because my mom and dad were married when they had me, because I was planned. And a lot of you, they lied to you. Like they lied to us. My mom could be lying about how planned I was or how planned my siblings were. Like, could be just something they say. The girls say stuff so they can also say something about them as well, right? You look at them now with this eye because there are societal standards in place for how we look at, a person who can say, oh, I had my first child when I was 26, or I had my first child when I was 30 and I was in a marriage and I was this. You walk around here thinking you're better than other people, or my children were had in this and that and they were done and they were... You are just not better than anybody. And to everybody's point about this is like, and then what? What do you really have to show for it? Because you go on as if you have a trust fund. How planned were you? Let's talk about how some of you weren't planned, and most of you are a trap, right? Most of you are how your mom, Baba Kosidisi jail. That's what really happened there. That's the conversation I really want to have. Okay, your mom got into this marriage very young and she wanted to pursue this and that, and your dad was like, no, I'm just going to keep knocking her the fuck up. I'm going to keep getting her pregnant so that she never ever realizes her full potential and leaves me. Right? I am going to make this baby so that in society I can now look like this. I'm going to make this baby so that people can respect me That's why you guys do the things you do. That's why you get married. That right, men especially. There's this thing that happens when you're in a certain age group. You'll experience it if you're not there yet. There all of a sudden these weddings, all of a sudden these boys just marrying girls they've just known a year, 3 months, 6 months, whatever, because the pressure is there now. They want to start getting the promotions at the job. It makes them look away to their boss. Society says they are respectable and responsible. You are what's used to show up in the world as a valid person because they don't have an existence. Like they don't have a that thing I talk about all the time, intrinsic worth. So they need that you're an accessory. I know you plan, you think, no, you're an accessory. You're like a trinket, like a charm on an Hermes bag. I'm not the first to say this, surely I probably am because I'm fucking crazy. Let's talk about the guys I know from two-parent households where the dad was a provider and was a serial cheater and made kids on the outside and the mom stayed. Let's talk about how I've observed all of them be marriages now where they do that exact thing to their partners, where they show up like that because that's how, not, what you said out of your mouth, that's what they observed to be manhood. What you're talking about, how you need a man in their life to teach them. In your mind, it's what's going to come out of your spouse's mouth, right? Your husband's going to say to your son, hey, we don't do that. Well, he does it. Well, we emulate, right? Monkey see, monkey do. We copy behavior. I see them move in the exact same pattern as their dads, down to making the kids outside of the marriage. I see them doing that, right? Putting this woman through the ringer. I see women staying in marriages because they were the child who experienced the shame of not having a father, and people putting all types of shit on them in the broader society, saying things to them like, oh, if you say anything that is counter to what the popular construct is, it's because of this, the trauma that we just spoke about from not having a dad. They stay in these relationships because they are trying to prevent society from treating their children the same way. But in doing so, all they do is show their kids that it's okay for a man to treat you like that. As long as it's a two-parent household, as long as we can walk outside and say, oh my God, we are the fortunates or whatever. Look at us in this picture. It's okay, right? If there's a son in the home, he now picks up on that behavior and he is going to full steam with the baton, run forth. Okay, the girls are going to be taught by mom that this is a behavior you put up with because you have a provider. It's okay that you're being emotionally abused, that you have flare ups in your body. Okay, that you now have like autoimmune problems that they can't identify the cause. Stress from being constantly humiliated. You're not special. You're not, what you are is a liar. The other thing that I want to say is that more often than not, we, the children in these marriages, are the last to know the real people who've raised us. You look like an idiot when you come online and you talk about how you're this is that. Even me, how I just started right now. People know a version of my dad that I don't know. Me especially, because I'm made from geriatric sperm, blah, blah, blah. My dad had me a 40 type of thing. This man had 40 years. He had lived 40 years. Done all types of shit out there for 40 years, right? Probably continue to do stuff after that while I was here and before I got here. Do you understand what I'm saying? So a lot of you have this tint on the lens that you view your parents, and it's a pretty tint, the rose colored tint. And you need to strip yourselves of that so you can see them as people, but also so that you can allow yourself to exist as a person with flaws and faults. Because a lot of you also end up feeling this pressure now to say, oh no, there hasn't been a divorce in my family now for many years, I now must stay in this thing, right? And let's talk about the guy from the two-parent household who marries the girl from a single mother home, who now feels like he can say things to her like, you won't understand because you never saw it in your home, all the while just abusing this girl, wanting her to put up with all types of abuses and like putting it under the banner of you wouldn't know because you weren't raised in it. And there's so much shame there, right? That's why we say we're trying to dismantle that shame. There is nothing to be ashamed of that you come from a household that's not exactly structured like this one. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. It's just another type of family. And this is another type of family. And having two dads is another type of family. Like it's not, it doesn't need to be this, it's only one way. And if it was just the one way that was so right, why is shit so janky in society at large? Why is it that these marriages produce the kinds of people that they produce? Patrick Shah used to beat the fuck out of his wife, rest his soul. And he said he would do it because, well, his dad did it. And that's what he saw. The man in the home, that's so important. The man that knew how to raise a man. Okay. All they have to offer is violence. So I don't know why we have them on this pedestal, but you're not special, Lala. You're not. You're special in that you are a human being, right? You're special in that sense. You have that intrinsic worth where you have something to bring to the world and you're here to do your chapter and be done with it and get on and go. In that instance, you are, but you are not a better person simply because the people you came from decided that they are going to legally bind themselves to each other. And now they've been wanting to divorce for years, but they were married under community of property. Let's talk about it now. A lot of your parents really should not have been married past the third year, and you were born on the fifth. God damn. Like running around here telling everybody how planned and special you are. I don't know where you guys get those ideas. I think they're especially confusing to me because I come from this space. And maybe I'll get it one day, guys. I just want a world where difference is not demonized. I think that, not even I think, that's what I want. I want a space where a child does not get to walk out into the world and feel less about themselves because of the decisions of the adults that made them. That's what I want. And when we say the things that we say, when we choose at school that the single mother we're not going to give respect to, even schools do that. You arrive at a school, you're trying to register your child and you don't have a husband or, somebody listed there as whatever, because these biases and these ideas of what this looks like and this is what this means, we take those with us into workspaces and stuff. They treat you funny. Right? They want to feel like, oh, maybe she want to be able to do this. She want to be able to carry the load. Whole time you have a village, a whole strong village. And it's the bitch or the husband whose husband is never going to show up for shit. And they won't notice. No, he's not at work. He's not at work. Half of them don't work. He's not at work. She's just carrying the entire load. She's showing up for all the you guys, your dads haven't been to the parent teacher meetings. Let's fucking talk now. You finished high school and your fucking daddy didn't know your shoe size not once. Doesn't know how much your Billabong bag costs. Wouldn't notice that you're growing out of your uniform. Doesn't know what subjects you chose in grade 10, babe. Is not sure what your interests are and what you would possibly want to study after matric. Is not sending you pocket money when you're in varsity. Why are you guys on here lying about how planned you were? That man made no plans for you, bitch. That man made zero plans for you. That man made plans for himself. That man wanted to walk around in the world and say to people, I've got a piece of me walking around here somewhere. You don't plan for shit. You really think you're special? Oh, and I use my dad's last name. I use my dad's last name because that's what my mom chose to do. Right? So that's how I identify now. And that, you guys know, that's part of why I don't want to get married. I'm not fucking changing my name. I know you don't have to, but I don't want to birth kids and give them somebody else's name that I don't identify under. And I'm never going to identify by somebody else's. It's never going to happen. It's been years and years and years I've been this girl by this name. Now, I must go learn your clan stuff there. You don't even know them. Your fucking husbands don't know shit about their own families. You're the one getting there trying to crema the entire family tree. This Rahadi goes here. He doesn't know that shit. Now it's your job to teach your kids about his family and that's a win. I'm supposed to take that off as a win. Oh, had me fucked up. Like that is, I'm done, guys. I think that's enough ranting for one day. I think so. Truly, I do. Mwah. Bye, Yella. You're not special. You're not special for that reason. You're special. That's not why you're special. Unfortunately. Mutambujare, I was planned. All when Elisa Lona the plans. That nigga couldn't plan to escape poverty. Right? You are attainable, babe. All it takes is a fucking nut. Stop acting like it was this huge activity, like he had to summit Everest to go and claim you at the very top. No, he just had to nut, girl. You are the easiest thing he can attain and say, I did that. Didn't do shit, by the way. Just not. Like, it's still his pleasure. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I was planned. Your parents were staggering about home. Bakuda zamalek. That's you telling us you were planned. Get the fuck on.